Early expeditions to neighboring Mars were sketchy for the astronauts. The first crew to venture that far from planet Earth only had faith the scientists plotting their return would be successful. Despite briefings on the possibility of being stranded for perhaps the rest of their lives on a remote planet, they buckled up and boarded the spacecraft. The hope of coming home was, at best, a long shot. Subsequent expeditions became less risky after the initial crew returned safely after 3 years on the Red Planet. Technology had advanced and knowledge of expectations had increased as they often do with experience. As the odds of crew members returning safely from the moon outpost or the growing colony on Mars increased, Earth explorers became more emboldened with the idea of deeper penetration into the solar system and even further into the Milky Way galaxy. Bravery became a primary characteristic of those recruited for deep space exploration. They would be leaving with no hope of ever returning home. Scientists and mathematicians were crunching data and numbers to determine how long voyages would have to last until suitable living conditions were discovered. Provisions to feed the crews for years needed to be preserved and properly stored. Failure meant sending dead crews hurtling through space for eternity or until their craft bounced off the end of the universe. Young men and women of every race, color, and creed were recruited for the expedition. Training on survival techniques in space and on alien planets was a speculative matter. Learning to operate their craft and respond to emergencies light years from assistance was more stringent. What was left unknown was what they would encounter in the known solar system and beyond. Fraught with danger, the mission was also filled with the promise of discovering new yet alien civilizations. Again, they would leave the confines of Earth with no hope of coming home. Family and friends would be their compatriots on the voyage. Parents would be memories. Life on Earth would be forgotten, for if they ever did return, it would be a completely different world, if it still existed. The planners behind this voyage to infinity and beyond knew that compatibility within the crew was essential. They would have to procreate for potentially generations to reach an unknown destination. Young men and women were chosen for their gene sequences and required to be heterosexual. The craft became a modern ark. Beyond humans, animals were researched and placed on board to provide companionship and food for the voyage. The crew thus had to include medical professionals, veterinarians, meat processors, brewers, pilots, navigators, sanitation engineers, and numerous other professionals. It was a mixed bag of life forms. Every contingency had to be thought of and planned for, from disposal of waste to replenishing water supplies. Where and how these functions would occur also had to be carefully planned. Where cholera or some other infectious disease broke out, the entire mission would become a mass of metallic garbage hurtling through space in search of a crash site.